Hello, thank you all for joining in. I think we might have just a minute left just so we can get everybody right at 1 o'clock. But my name is Natalie Sparkman. Welcome to the 48 and 48, the basics of paid media strategy, or social strategy. All right, let's get started. So my name is Natalie Sparkman. I am the digital strategist here at Everywhere Agency. I have experience in account management across paid media, social, SEO, anything like that, as well as some nonprofit communications experience. So I definitely have dabbled in a lot of social media in terms of nonprofit angles. So today we're gonna start by going over the basics of paid social strategy. So a lot of times nonprofits might cringe a bit about the fact of putting any extra budget anywhere, but we do want to really hone in on technical difficulties. Okay. All right, there, it's stuck. Sorry about that. All right, so now you can see my screen. So we are going to go over the basics of paid social today. And really, it really still is an important thing for nonprofits to focus on. You will see a lot of benefits from it. So we're going to go over some benefits of paid social for nonprofits. We're going to talk about a checklist. Essentially, you need to have some things set up before you can start doing some sponsored ads. You also will walk through some step-by-step tutorial on how to set up your ads. We'll focus a little bit on Instagram, but Facebook is our main focus for today. Also, we'll run over some best practices, and then lastly, we'll have question time. So if you have any questions at all during the presentation, please feel free to ask them on the right-hand side of your screen. There's a little chat window there, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. So, getting started. So there are many benefits to having a paid social strategy for your nonprofit, mainly because Facebook is constantly changing its algorithms, and more often brand pages and business pages are bearing the brunt of these changes. So a lot of times brand pages are appearing a lot lower in feeds, and if you pay to play, your content will get put up higher than anything that doesn't have a spend behind it. So having a good paid strategy behind any of your organic posts or just ads is really beneficial in terms of getting up ahead of any of the organic posts that might be appearing in other people's feeds. Also, this is a great way for you to target new audiences. You can also expand your reach and increase your followership. So Facebook has a lot of great ways that you can set up your ads so that you can get new audiences that might be interested in similar nonprofits. Also, if you're looking to just increase the followers of your page, Facebook also has a lot of options there in terms of targeting. So another great benefit is that you can create awareness of your cause. So reaching new audiences who might not be aware of what you have to offer, you can do this through just creating an awareness type of campaign strategy. Also, it's very cost effective to do paid social, and it doesn't have to be a huge part of your budget. It could be as little as $5 that you're putting behind something, and you'll see major benefits coming from that. All right, so here's a quick checklist before you get started on your paid social campaigns for Facebook. First things first, you need a business profile on Facebook. This is the very first thing you've got to do, otherwise you won't be able to start promoting your posts. Also, you need a budget. So it's one thing to maybe put a $5, $10 kind of spend behind an ad here or there, but you really want to be intentional about your spend. You want to make sure that you have a starting and stopping point so that you know how much you spent and what kind of results came from that. It'll help you inform your future strategies, and it'll help you understand how you're getting the best bang for your buck. You'll also need a targeting strategy. So who do you want to reach with your ad? Is it new audiences? Is it existing audiences? Maybe a list of donors that you'd like to revisit and get a new kind of campaign going with them. Also, what kind of content are you going to be promoting on your Facebook ad? Is it as much as just a video that you'd like to share with new people? Is it a new donor program that is something that's driving new donations for a part of of your nonprofit? Really, is it a new book? Is it a new webinar? Is it anything? You want to make sure that you have a purpose behind the content that you are promoting. Lastly, you'll want to define your KPIs for your campaign. So after your campaign wraps and your ads are all done, your budget's all depleted, how can you look back and say, this was a successful campaign? Was it more donations? Was it more followers than you had before you started? Or was it just the fact that more people got to see a video that you've recently created? So next, you'll want to set a campaign objective. So Facebook offers 3 different kinds of objectives for an ad. The first one is awareness. Awareness is really just about generating interest in your product. It could be just the fact that you'd like to reach as many people as possible. This isn't something that you'll be able to indicate, oh, that's perfect. That person means they're now a new donor. This is more about gaining more people that you can retarget in the future. So it's a lot more cost effective. You're reaching a broader audience and you're not necessarily paying as much for each click on an ad. Your consideration stage, so this is more midline. These are going to be some actions that you want from people, such as website traffic, or maybe video views, or even just messages to your platform. So these are going to be a little bit more costly than your awareness ads, but they do have a lot more indication of someone being interested and ready to think a little bit more about your product or service. Then we have conversions. So conversions are always going to be your evergreen. This is a successful metric in terms of a campaign. So that could be you get a new donor. You could also encourage people to maybe purchase something that you have going to raise more funds for one of your campaigns. But really, you are going to pay a little bit more for these. These are a lot more competitive ads, and they're not quite as effective as maybe your awareness ones if you're not really in tune with the right audience that you're reaching. You might spend a little bit more money than you intend to in a conversion campaign. Step 2, name your campaign. So this seems simple enough, but I've seen it many times that we all have a unique name for something, and then we go back in the future and we have no idea what the campaign was about. So when you start doing these ads for your company, you want to make sure that you start a process in the beginning so that other people, when they come in, maybe you might have some staff turnover or anything like that, you want people to be able to come in and easily identify past campaigns, what those audiences were, what successes you saw, and what kind of budget you even put behind that. Secondly, here, there's a format option. So you have a few options in terms of formatting your ads. The first one, carousel. We see the most success with carousel ads. Carousel ads force people and your viewers to interact with it. They have to click through to see multiple images, and you have this opportunity to keep people on your ad just a little bit longer, so maybe you're just that more top of mind than other people. You do have a single image option, so that's, if you only have one asset for your campaign, that's totally fine. Single video, that's pretty self-explanatory. You'll just have a video. And then also a slideshow. A slideshow offers up to 10 images, and it will play on its own. So a little bit different than the carousel because it's automatic, but the carousel, really makes people have to interact with your ads, and you'll see a lot more success there. All right, so we have a couple options for targeting people in your campaigns. Custom audiences are essentially a way to get really refined. This is you can actually upload email lists here. You can, maybe find a list of donors that you'd like to retarget or, re-ask for something. This is where you'd upload an email list and you would be able to kind of target those people based on that. You can get really refined even from that to make sure that maybe you have a very large email list, but you want to make sure you're only targeting those in an age range from 18 to 25 or just only the men in that list. You're also able to have, it's a little bit lower on the page here, the detailed targeting option. So this is an option where you can target other pages that are similar to your cause. So say maybe you are an up-and-coming museum. You can find similar audiences to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, to the High Museum here in Atlanta. You can find other pages that have similar sort of causes to target. So you'll be able to really refine it too and get a little bit more bang for your buck If you kind of look over to the right side of the screen here, you can see how many people are projected to be reached based on the audiences that you've created. So here we have a very, very broad audience. 230 million people could potentially be reached by this ad. So obviously you want to get refined unless your intention really is just broad awareness and just spending kind of your budget in a much more even fashion. But otherwise, get as targeted as you can so that you're getting those specific audiences, so you're not losing out on opportunities to make sure your budget's going in the right place. There's also lookalike audiences. These are much easier and much more simple to use in terms of Facebook audience options. Facebook will let you click lookalike audience, and then you essentially can build off of that. This lookalike audience also has the option to do the custom targeted audiences as well, so you could look for similar pages and things like that to promote to new people. And it's just nice because Facebook really will build an audience base for you here, and you don't have to worry as much about knowing so much about all of your audiences, especially if you're just getting started. Facebook can really guide you through this. All right, so the next step 4, is to set up ad placement. So not a lot to talk about here. We really do just recommend going with Facebook on this one, the automatic placements. It will make sure that you're being shown evenly across multiple networks and places that maybe you weren't sure might work or would work. So you can here just let Facebook do the work for you and just show it up where it's likely to perform best. Step 5. So we talked a little bit about budget, but just to dwindle it down a little bit more here. So again, be very intentional about your budget. Don't just throw money in terms of hoping that something will work. You want to make sure that you have benchmarks of how much you're spending on different ads and with different intentions, so you can really start to know where your money is going. Something really important to focus on here is there's an option for a daily budget. There's an option for a lifetime budget. So make sure you're clicking the right things here. Also, make sure you set an end date if you do have a certain kind of daily budget that you're setting. We've done it here. It's a thing where you forget to turn off the date, and then all of a sudden it's a $250 ad. So really make sure when you're doing these, you're checking all the boxes, you're really reading through. You don't want to end up over budget on something simple as just checking an end date. All right. Step 6. So another option here for setting up your ads, this is when you really start to see it come together. So you've done all your audience selection and your budget setting, but now it's time to start writing out your headlines, getting your URL put in here, selecting your images. So here we've selected a carousel ad, and you can see the differences over here on the left side where you can select different images and you can have your headlines. And so your headline should really be something that grabs the attention of your viewer. It should be a very clear one ask call to action. Your description should qualify your headline just a little bit more, but you still want to entice your viewers into clicking your ad. If you take a look over on the right side of the screen, you can see the different button options here. So I would always say, please click a button. The more shelf space that you take up for an ad, the better. The more fleshed out your ad is, the more likely it is to be clicked. So, even if it is just the learn more or, really the learn more option, just always use something so that you are getting more information to your viewers. All right, so your ad's all wrapped up, your budget's all depleted. Now what? Now's the time to sit back and analyze. So what metrics are available to you from your ad? You are able to see how many people were reached. You can see link clicks, how much each one of those link clicks costs per result. You can see demographics. So was it mostly men who were clicking on your ads? Was it mostly women? What age groups? Also, what placement? Was it on Instagram only? Was it in Facebook Messenger or on the Facebook feed option? So you can really start to dig into the data here and understand, okay, so this is where my audience is most intrigued and engaged. So moving forward, let's make sure we hone in on this audience a little differently. This is just a way also to start documenting all of the different things you're doing. Like I mentioned, it really is important to have one place where you're housing all of your campaign names, the budgets, the audience targeting, all of that, and this is where you put in your results. You want to start to build a historical ledger so that you can refer back to what did work, what didn't work, and it'll ultimately start to become an evolving strategy. So I know we've talked all about Facebook, but what about Instagram? So Instagram actually shares the ad platform with Facebook, and it is as easy as selecting that you'd like it placed, an ad placed on Facebook, Instagram. So here you can see that you can choose between a feed or the stories, and also you just want to make sure that you are selecting images that really fit with Instagram. So Instagram, as you know, it's more vertical if it's a story, it's more square if it's a feed post. So you just want to be able to upload images that will really do well on the platform. I wouldn't say just use the same exact ad that you're using on Facebook here. You can also just use something separate on Instagram. So a few best practices in terms of paid social. So something that we really like to hone in on here is that if you have an image in your ad, you hardly want any text on it. So Facebook actually penalizes people who have a lot of text on an image ad. So if you have maybe just a date, that's all right, but there is a chance you will get a little bit of a pushback from Facebook. So faces are always going to do better too. So if you have images that have faces instead of the outside of your building, always go for those. Those will help you perform better. Also, long captions. Steer away from long captions in terms of your ad copy. You know, your ad is going to be only in front of someone for a few seconds, so you want to grab their attention as quickly as possible. Don't force them to have to click into anything to read more. You really want to entice them to move through the journey, but you don't want to take up too much of their time because they might move on. Also, don't overly promote yourself in your ads, and keep your asks to the minimum. So it's that old 80-20 rule, but you really want to make sure that you are sharing victories and value with your ad copy and not just asking for donations or followers or anything like that. All right, so now I'd like to open it up for some questions.
Okay, so we've gotten a good couple in here. How long should we run ads for, in your opinion?
That is a good question, and I think that's based on really the intention behind your ad. So are you maybe looking to promote a new event? You want to make sure that you set a budget that will deplete before your event happens. But say maybe you only have 24 hours left in a donor campaign. You want to maybe have your budget set at a max and have it deliver as much as possible within one day. So it really is a matter of the intention behind the ad and not as much about how long it runs. It really is, are you spending it effectively? Are you going to make sure that it runs out, before this event or this, deadline ends? Just make sure that you are just intentional about how long those ads run.
Okay. Should you always have ads link back to your website?
That is yes and no. You don't necessarily want to always send people to your website. What if there is a piece of content or another event you're helping co-host that isn't on your website? That's okay. You want to just make sure that you're giving the best experience to the people who are clicking on your ad. So whatever your ad copy says it's going to deliver, it needs to deliver that, whether that's a page where they can RSVP or perhaps view a new video on YouTube, or just go to your website and check out all the donor options.
What's the difference between a paid ad and a boosted post?
So paid ads are pretty much what we just went through. So that is setting up something from the beginning to the end. You're setting up your headline, your carousel ad, your placements, and all of that good stuff. But a boosted post is Facebook's very fun and easy way of saying, hey, we'll help you, just kind of press boost, and then we'll figure out the rest. So it is a way to boost a post that already exists on your page. And I would say that our best practice here is we wait for a post to gain a little bit of organic traction before we put that spend and that boost right behind it. It really helps Facebook understand how that post is already being received, and it might help the targeting and the algorithm that they choose to use just get a little bit more refined and targeted.
What is the 80-20 rule?
So the old 80-20 rule is basically 20% of your content is what you're putting on social should be you promoting yourself. The other 80% should actually be resources and things of value, or just industry trends, anything that isn't about you. You don't want to look like you're always asking for something. It starts to get a little, oh, I guess they're just needing more money again. So you really want to make sure you're showing value back to the people who might be those donors, who might be seeing your ads more than usual. You don't want to look like you're always asking for something. So the best way to do it is be a value 80% of the time, and 20% of the time is when you say, all right, let's do something for us now.
This question comes from Haiti Projects Incorporated. Do Instagram ads allow someone to click to your site to make a donation or buy a product?
Yes, right? Yeah. So yeah, if you have an Instagram ad, you also have your calls to action that you can send people to a specific page on a site. So you can have your call to action that says, donate now, or click here to see more, and then it'll take you directly to a page on your site, and they can take that action. So as long as you have that existing URL to send traffic to, you can put it in your Instagram ad.
You mentioned budget, but is there a minimum I should spend on Facebook ads?
I don't think there is. I mean, I wouldn't say 50 cents. I would say start with something like a round number, $5. It's simple, it doesn't break the bank, and then just see what happens. See the difference between what a post has done in the past organically, and then see what that difference is made with a $5 spend behind it. You'll see a lot more interest in that ad.
So it looks like this may be our last question. I know we've mostly focused on Instagram and Facebook, but do you recommend promoting tweets?
That is a matter of preference and intention behind the ad. So Twitter is a very saturated platform. It's very hard to get in front of a lot of the larger celebrities and things and news platforms that exist in Twitter. So if you have something that you think deserves a Twitter ad, that's more or less, that's why you would promote on it. So here at Everywhere, we host a lot of Twitter chats. So this is a place that we put Twitter ads. But anything that isn't, really going to drive a good amount of traffic, I wouldn't say Twitter is going to be your best bet. I think for just the way that the ball rolls right now, Instagram and Facebook are going to be your best places to really run ads to see the most result.
A couple more questions coming through here. If you're pressed for time or don't have bandwidth, what's the easiest thing you can do for paid social? Is it boosting posts on Facebook or?
Yes, yeah. Boosting posts is the simplest thing you're going to do. Facebook typically offers it up to you already. And so you just simply as click, it'll have a little option. You click boost post and set a budget, maybe refine some audiences if you'd like, and then Facebook can help you do the rest. So in terms of something a lot easier, boosting a post is a great idea. And again, I'd like to reiterate that you should let that post gain a little bit of organic traction before you put the spin behind it.
This is an interesting question. Where is it best to sell products? Which platform, or should we just try both?
That's a good question. And I think that is something, try both. Yeah. You have a visual platform on Instagram, but you also do on Facebook. So it could be just the matter of how your audience reacts to either or. So Instagram's obviously very visual and will do well in terms of gaining interest in something that might be a little bit more flashy, but in terms of a video download or something that you might be selling on Facebook, maybe that would be a different way to take.
Let's see. Can you run paid ads on LinkedIn? If so, what circumstance would you recommend doing that?
Yes, so you can do boosted or you can do sponsored content on LinkedIn, and it gets very refined. It's an awesome platform, and if you're trying to look for people with different job titles or looking at working at different companies. But I would say that you have to be a little bit more intentional if you want to see good results. So I wouldn't promote just the simplest of things, like a new event that might be happening on LinkedIn. I would promote something that's more like a downloadable piece of content or a video that really would show that somebody who saw your ad is very interested. But to go back on events, if the intention is to get people to register and you want new C-level people or new donors to attend something, then maybe you refine your targeting that way. But I would say you really want to make sure you're getting something back out of LinkedIn. You want to have a form that gets filled, something that means a transaction might have been made, only because it's you want to be able to retarget those people in the future. It is also a saturated platform, so you really want to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck there too.
Are there any resources online to learn more about paid ads on social?
I would say Facebook does a great job itself of explaining how all of their ads work, the intention behind all of the things and options that you have. So start with Facebook. They have a forum that you can learn all about their paid ads. But personally, I always find a lot of help in Google searches, just the old ask the question and you shall receive. And you'll usually find a number of resources that'll come up that will help you. And start with Facebook, but if your question isn't quite answered or explained, you can still find many results in Google. Google does a great job of showing the most accurate results there at the top and the most helpful.
Okay, I think, one more question. What about Google Ads? Totally different beast, but that was just their question. What about Google Ads?
So, Google Ads are a whole other animal, but the way to think about Google Ads is you're going to be shown to people who are searching for you. So the benefit for paid social paid social is that you're getting in front of people who may already know about you or who don't yet, but you kind of have that option to insert yourself. But when it comes to Google, you are relying on other people to search for you first. So it would be nonprofits in the area or local museums who are starting up. So it's a little bit harder to get in front of people without them asking for you first, if that makes sense. So you don't have that easy, okay, I want to be in front of people XYZ age, these are their interests. Google's going to be a little bit more of that, people are asking for you first. There is the Google retargeting network, which is a whole other beast as well. And that is what, they basically track cookies to your website, so then you can start retargeting and finding people. But in terms of paid social, it is going to be the easier setup for you. You're going to be able to spend your money in a much more effective way, and you can turn it on and off a lot quicker.
All right, great. I think that was our last question, so go ahead and wrap up.
Cool. Well, thank you all so much for sitting in on our paid social strategy webinar today. We do encourage you, if you have any questions or you want to just learn more about 48 and 48, please go to www.48and48.org. And thank you so much. Thank you and have a great day.